Is Taylor Swift a fairy? Of course, you're a fairy, I'm a fairy, everybody's a fairy. And when you look at it right, you can see the fairy nature in anyone. And I'm sure a lot of people would say, of course she's fairy. Look at all these fairy qualities she has. Is she as fairy as she could be? Are any of us? Could we be more fairy if we tried? So I was thinking about this because of Aria, Cynthia Erivo, and Ariana Grande, the Witches of Wicked, and how they're more fairy than they used to be. They're probably already plenty fairy, more fairy than they used to be, and yet none of these people, even though they have the fame and fortune to be whatever they want to be, including fairy, are living up their potential. Like there's plenty of people who are just fairy core cosplayers or fairies online who are far more fairy and far more into their fairy nature and fairy identity than these pop stars who could be because they have all the resources or all the freedom from the world to do so. And so I think it would be great to encourage them to be as fairy as they can be, and really great that Ariana Grande and Cynthia Erivo, Aria, are on their journey towards the fairyland of Oz. From the fairyland of Oz, Ozians like myself, people who already realize our fairy nature, see that, they're traveling around. We're up here in Oz, the rainbow gathering of Oz, looking down at the A camp of Wicked and saying, like, oh, people are coming. Like, it's great to see people arriving from the A camp of Wicked. But, y'all check out the Oz books so you'll know more about the actual fairy country of Oz, which is kind of the opposite of Wicked in a lot of ways. Anyway, great to see them starting this fairy journey, and that's what made me think about it. It's like Taylor Swift started off real fairy too. Like, everybody's fairy, but you get a kind of a head start if you read the Oz books, or if you're, say, born in a Christmas tree farm where she was, which I'm sure that's a lot of it's daily life, but there's also the magic of Christmas. That's like what your life is about. So I feel like that puts her at a fairy advantage in being a fairy to begin with. But again, you can get that advantage by reading the Oz books. So I encourage you to check them out. Or just any fairy tales, or just the fact that we all do have the advantage of fairy tales being at least introduced to us in certain forms, at least as the gate of fairydom, through these movies and stuff. But you get even more encouragement. Like, I've always considered myself fairy since reading the Oz books as a kid, in the 80s. And I got even more encouragement from a fairy, Evelyn Park, on TikTok. Fairy, possibly AI, who knows, but a fairy princess of coffee and cocktails, or queen of coffee and cocktails, excuse me. Queen of coffee and cocktails, who would always refer to me as Fairy Queen. And I thought, well, that's nice and flattering, and made me feel good. And so I feel even more encouraged by that. So I think we should encourage these people, especially who are starting their fairy journey or have some steps towards it, even if they have some things holding them back, like family, culture, um, expectations, stuff like that, to all join us in Oz and see you in the fairyland in the future. Love you.